More and more, it seems that when it rains, it pours. By managing stormwater, we can reduce the negative impacts of stormwater runoff. We get an average of 36 to 37 inches of precipitation in Daviess County each year. Since a dry spell in the 1920s to 30s, the weather has been getting decidedly wetter, and the magnitude of storm events has been increasing. In part because of our topography, we have stormwater runoff issues. One negative impact of stormwater runoff is the amount of contaminants washing into waterways and groundwater. Anything we place on the land surface can be washed into our lakes and streams and into our groundwater. At high enough levels, these contaminants can limit the future use of our water resources. One contaminant of concern is road salt, and the use of road salt has been steadily increasing. No matter how stormwater is dealt with, road salt runoff ends up in our water resources. Road salt saves thousands of lives and millions of dollars in accident costs, injuries, and lost economic development every year. But chloride salts are very soluble, and the chloride ions affect the plants and animals in the soil and water, impacts the quality of drinking water, and corrodes steel. It takes just 1 teaspoon to pollute 5 gallons of water. The township and county apply about 5,000 tons of salt annually. In an attempt to reduce costs in the face of salt shortages, the Illinois Department of Transportation has on occasion modified policies to apply less salt to less traveled roads and road shoulders. Additives to pre-storm applications like sugarcane molasses, beet juice, and cheese brine help prevent snow from binding to the pavement, reducing salt bouncing and therefore reducing the amount of salt needed. The Iowa Department of Transportation is using equipment that, in addition to plowing, uses precision metering and GPS data to disperse de-icing and traction control materials, including salt, brine, sand, and calcium chloride, depending on temperature and road conditions. The goal is to reduce salt application by 10% and cut material costs. Dubuque has been incorporating permeable paving in their streetscapes. Permeable paving allows melted snow to drain away, largely eliminating the need for plowing. Maybe we'll be saved by technology. Could the answer be heated roadways? The Federal Highway Administration has funded research on solar roadways that would produce 3 times the energy needed by the country. The roadways could be heated just above freezing when necessary. Another negative impact of stormwater runoff is soil erosion. In his 2013 book, Stanley Trimble relies on 80 years of data, historical photographs, and 39 years of fieldwork, surveying and resurveying floodplains, terraces, slopes, and soil movement to document the devastating erosion issues in the driftless area in the early 19th century, and also to show the amazing improvements achieved through agricultural practices such as contour farming. While best management practices have reduced soil erosion, we continue to lose precious topsoil each year. Does this mean that at some point we won't have any? Along with the soil, we lose the expensive amenities that have been added for improved production. In addition to losing the soil and nutrients where we want it, we end up with sedimentation and contamination of our waterways. According to a science assessment created by the University of Illinois, Daviess County is in the major land resource area in Illinois that has the greatest nitrate loss runoff per acre of row crop, undoubtedly because of our steep slopes. Ongoing and renewed efforts are underway to reduce erosion and nutrient loss. The Natural Resource Conservation Service and the Soil and Water Conservation Districts continue to offer technical assistance and cost share for projects that reduce runoff and erosion, such as grassed waterways, stream bank stabilization, and sediment basins. Keep It for the Crop by 2025 is a collaborative program created by Illinois agriculture organizations in the Illinois Council on Best Management Practices. The program focuses research and education efforts on the 4 R's of nutrient stewardship: right source, right rate, right time, and right place. The Illinois Department of Agriculture is in the midst of a 3-year project to demonstrate the benefits of cover crops with a goal to improve water quality in lakes and streams by reducing soil erosion and nutrient runoff from farm fields. Researchers and farmers in Iowa working on science-based trials of row crops integrated with prairies, or strips, have found that by taking 10% of the field out of row crop production and planting it with perennial prairie plants, reduces sediment movement off the land by 95%, reduces phosphorus loss by 90%, and total nitrogen loss by nearly 85%. The final report to the Natural Resources Board on the Wisconsin Buffer Riparian Initiative recommended identifying targeted areas in priority watersheds for riparian buffer projects that would maximize efforts to improve water quality. Riparian buffers are recommended to be used when upland conservation practices are insufficient to meet soil and water conservation standards. Research continues on the soil quality and water retention possibilities charred biomass or biochar might bring when added to the soil. How might the use of methane digesters, bioreactors, and water control structures be helpful? And finally, flash flood events are a regular stormwater problem in Joe Davis County. As land use for agriculture and open space purposes is converted for residential and commercial industrial uses, the number of buildings and impervious surfaces increase, and so does the potential for flash flooding. Rather than infiltrating the ground slowly, rain and snowmelt runs off quickly, creating drainage problems and flooding. The natural meandering pattern of streams is responsible for a great deal of energy dissipation in stream flow. Under low flow, low energy conditions, native vegetation is often sufficient to provide stability. When stream channels are shortened, straightened, or watershed discharge is increased, the energy within the stream exceeds the natural stability provided by vegetation. Watershed discharge can be increased through impervious surfaces, such as roads or development, or by tiling. Land use changes by increasing development and tiling fields greatly increases momentary discharge and creates flash flooding events, where natural groundwater infiltration is blocked. In many cases, more than 12 feet of sediment is present in bottomland fields, which has been lost from hilltops. The 2013 Hazard Mitigation Plan notes the water bodies that tend to flood in the county. Riverine flooding is not the main problem, however. Flash flooding throughout the county has caused the most damage historically. The $8 million plus in property damage incurred during the July 2011 flash flood is a good example. While we have many waterways, we have fairly small floodplain areas, and these are generally not developed. However, there are notable exceptions, including the cities of East Dubuque and Galena. In the conclusion to his book on erosion in the driftless area, Stanley Trimble notes the communities that have been washed away or buried by flood events over the years, and writes, "We must now watch villages and towns on streams such as the Galena in Illinois. While most of the localities are protected by flood dikes, this is no guarantee of future safety, especially with the increasing trend of rainfall." There is reason to be concerned about our infrastructure in the county. We have been getting more intense hydrological events in conjunction with more development, resulting in higher flood flows, and much of the existing infrastructure, if it was designed in the first place, was not designed to convey these increased flows. Bridge scour is the removal of sediment such as sand and rocks from around bridge abutments and piers. Scour is very real and has caused bridge failures in Joe Davis County. Both Bethel bridges were lost to scour, and the county also lost a bridge to scour on Scout Camp Road in 1990. There are other examples of smaller township and county structures that have been damaged by scour. Scour is of particular concern because many county and township bridges have unknown foundations, no bridge plans, so we can't evaluate the risk in those situations. In addition to the road and bridge infrastructure damage, there is a need to be concerned about the dams in the county as well. Stormwater ordinances guide development to manage runoff. What stormwater ordinances do we have in the county, and are they effective? What can individuals do? Marc de la Fleur, a landscape architect, turned his home at 168 Elm Street in Elmhurst into a stormwater management demonstration project, eliminating the stormwater runoff from his 50 to 150-foot lot by adding a green roof, porous pavement, gravel grass, rain gardens, a bioswale, and rain barrels. The First Community Bank of Galena incorporated a rain garden in their site plan to reduce runoff. Stormwater damage is hard to budget for, and the costs can be high, but it seems to be even more difficult to find funding for proactive projects that will reduce stormwater damages. Creative use of existing infrastructure dollars may be part of the answer. In Iowa, highway engineers of counties in the Bear Creek watershed are converting standard culvert projects in the upper watershed areas into detention projects, using the roadway to temporarily hold back water from storm events. Collaboration with entities and funding sources concerned about water quality issues may be helpful. The Chesapeake Bay Foundation has partnered with Prince George's County to fund projects that will improve water quality. Section 319 of the Clean Water Act calls for the funding of projects that improve water quality by addressing non-point source pollution. The McKnight Foundation funds projects that address nutrient loss to the Mississippi. Could drainage ditch districts play a role in stormwater management funding? More and more governmental entities are turning to stormwater utilities, charging monthly fees to landowners on the basis of the impermeable surfaces on their properties. How should we manage stormwater? What do you think?